23, part 1. So this is not the second to last lecture of the whole summer. I hope it is, and I know you hope it is as well, but well, it's the second to last lecture before the midterm. So that's the good news. And I'm sorry about the lecture indexing. It's not really the 23rd lecture, it's like the 11th one. I didn't cover this topic last year, so I don't want to mess up the index, so I'm naming it lecture 23. Well, in any case, I want to introduce a new algorithm called hidden Markov model. And the main purpose of this lecture is a review of a special form. It's like a special form of a Bayesian network, so it's mostly about reviewing what was covered in the last lecture. And if you actually want to learn this new model, it's okay too, but the main purpose is a review, basically. And in the last lecture, we talked about the regular Bayesian network, which is a bunch of features. They are interrelated, and there's no special y value, special label, or special feature. They're just a bunch of related variables. And then at the end, we talked about naive Bayes, which we had like one specific label that we are predicting the label value based on all of the features X. So this time we're going to naturally extend to having multiple labels. We're going to predict basically multiple labels at the same time. But the difference is that we actually don't know these features. We know the values of some of these labels. We want to predict, say, the other labels. So there is a special structure for this network as well. So all the x's are related or connected by a Markov chain. So basically they are related in a special way that x1 is related to x2. So x1 has some specific probability of transitioning to x2 and x2 to x3 and so on. And each x is related to each y, like with the same index. So I will talk about the network structure later, but it's basically a special form of the network that some of the features are connected and some of the features are connected to the labels. I think some examples would be very helpful. So the first one is the most typical one that's used to introduce hidden Markov model. I don't actually know why, but I'm going to tell you the story, and you probably don't know too. So the story here is basically we don't know the weather. So for some reason we are, say, staying at home, and well, like now. And the problem is we cannot observe whether it's sunny, cloudy, or rainy. So somehow we are staying at a basement, or I mean, there's even no window, so we cannot look outside. But also at the same time, magically, we can read the newspaper. And even more strange is that the newspaper reports the condition, like how dry and wet the ground is, but not the weather. So, well, I don't know what kind of world this is, but suppose we live in a world like this, and then we want to kind of guess what the weather is based on the ground condition. Then these states basically form a hidden Markov model, and where we observe these labels and we don't observe these weather, and we can use these labels to go back and predict the weather, and somehow if we can figure out the relation, we can predict weather in the next day. Basically something like this. I personally like the second example a lot better. So it's about speech recognition, and the hidden states, the states that we don't know, are basically the words. So if you say something, then the computer will not know what words you meant, but the computer can figure out what are the acoustic features. So basically they are the sounds. And so one example is if you say something like recognize speech, then it's recognize speech, something like this. I don't actually know how to write them out in those acoustic symbols, but let's do it this way. And what do you mean? Maybe so x1 may be like rec and a nice speech, which doesn't really make sense, or it can be something that's more meaningful, like recognize speech. They sound similar, but given the context, it looks like recognize speech is a better sequence of words that represent these acoustic features. So second example. And next example is something you are familiar with. It's basically the axis, the hidden variables are those information about the company or actually about the economy. And the y's that we observe are those stock prices or actually the general price level of like economy and so on. So basically, given these changes in prices, we can go back and infer what is happening with the company or the economy, and then we can kind of get what are the transition probabilities, and maybe we can predict what will happen next. And given what happened next, we predict that, and then we can go back and predict what will be the price in the next period, so t plus 1, something like that. Okay, so the last example is similar to speech recognition, but we are given the words already, so it's basically something like a chat box. So we know the words, but we don't know the context. So given the words, we can figure out the context, and then given the context, we can figure out how these contexts are related, and then we can predict what might happen next, and then we can go back to predict what's the next word. So basically, if I speak half of a sentence and then you want the algorithm to complete your sentence, then it's basically something like this. So the machine needs to figure out the context and also the part of speech, or basically sentence structure, and then in order to predict what I should say next. So these are some of the examples, and some other ones include machine translation, which is like we need to figure out the context and then translate to another language. And handwriting recognition is actually different from the one that we had using the pixel intensities. So what we'll basically do is, suppose we want to write something like A, and what the labels are is basically they are these positions of the pen. So suppose I know the first few positions, so this is y1, y2, and so on. And then what we can do is we can use these y to predict our x1, which is what symbol I'm trying to write. And then we can go back and predict what I should do next. So it's basically auto-completing what my handwriting is. Or we can have the complete, like the sequence of positions, and then we're just asked to predict basically what symbol we're trying to write. And the next one is something I'm not very familiar with. The gene prediction one is related to biology. So if you search on Wikipedia, you can see how this is related to some kind of Markov model. And lastly, traffic control. So the hidden states are basically what is the event, what is the time of day, and so on. And then what we have, the label is basically how many cars are there, and so on. Okay, and here, let me give you a very simple diagram of the simplest possible hidden Markov model. And maybe let's use something that you're more familiar with. So suppose there are two possible states. One, let's label it x equal to 0, and 2 is x equal to 1. So suppose 0 means I don't have coronavirus, and 1 means I have. Well, now I think it's not a great example, but let's keep it. So what can happen is, so at the start, so maybe 1 month ago, I can start with coronavirus or no coronavirus. with certain probabilities, let's say pi 0 and pi 1. So these are called initial probabilities. And then on any given day, suppose I start with no virus, hopefully, and I can transition to no virus again the next day. So let's write the probability as something like A00. So these notations mean A starting from state 0 transition to state 0. Hopefully that's very high. And then there is a small probability that state 0 transition to state 1. So basically, yesterday I don't have coronavirus and now I have. The probability should be A01. And similarly, we can go back. That's the good case. Or I can have the virus and then I keep having the virus. So A11. So we would use a matrix like this. That's the transition matrix. Let me write everything down. And so the initial probabilities is a vector of the length of all possible states of each x. And the transition matrix, you should remember this from last lecture. It's basically a model of Markov chain. It's A with A00 and A01, A10, and A11. And we need to add a new kind of conditional probability table of the label given the underlying state. So here I'm assuming I don't know if I have the virus or not, but what I can know is whether I have fever or not. So say each of these x is connected to two states, either 0 or 1, and these are y is 0 or y is 1. So say y is fever and 0 is no fever. And we need probabilities of these, and the notation is going to be a little strange, but I'm going to use something like this: B0, 0, and B1, 0. So what these notations mean is that we want the probability that the label is 0 given the state is 0. And here, the probability that the label is 1 given the state is 0. And so similarly, we'll have two possible states here, 0 and 1. And these probabilities will be B01 and B11. So I think we specify all the conditional probabilities, so we have fully specified this Bayesian network. Let me write that down, and the last is conditional probabilities. We have our B0 is a vector, it's B01 and B00 and B01 basically is the probability that we end up with a label 0, and the other one is B1. It's another vector, B10 and B11. And sometimes we want to combine these two into a matrix. Okay, and these notations are summarized in the next slide. And the pi's, the a's, and the b's. And the name of the matrix A is state transition matrix, and B has another fancy name, is observation likelihood matrix. So it's basically the conditional probability of the label given the hidden states. And they satisfy these Markov probabilities. So I think I explained this already. So the x only depend on the previous x, and the y only depend on the current x. So going back to here, it's basically we start from here and then we move around between state 0 and 1. Then each time we have some state 0 or 1, we output a label that's either 0 or 1. So we are going to basically move around between the x states, and each time one x state output a y state.